Today I'm going to kind of go over, the topic is understanding your EOB. The first thing, that the slides are actually in your packets if you want to follow there, or if you want to make any notes or anything like that. The topics I'm going to go over is actually what you're signing up for when you sign up for an insurance policy. What is your policy? How does your policy read? How do you use the policy in the doctor's office or when you go to the hospital? The EOB that comes from your insurance plan, and then what happens when it's time for you to pay. So the first thing is, what are you actually signing up for? Most of the time when you sign up for an insurance policy, it's either through, it's the first place you'll sign up for is through your employer. Normally it's open enrollment and it's done in November. It's almost always payroll deducted. And usually you have a small grace period. Let's say you get fired or terminated or you get laid off. They give you, if you get fired at the beginning of the month, you usually get your plan until the end of the month. You get your cover to the end of the month because it takes more for the employer to terminate that policy. They normally can't terminate it in the beginning of the month. So you normally get the rest of the month because it's payroll deducted probably a month in advance also. One point we want to understand is that employers offer insurance as a benefit as for your employment. So the employer is also looking and searching for an insurance plan that is cheap because they pay a portion of that premium for you as a benefit. So if the premium is $500 a month, you probably only pay a fourth, maybe $100, and they pay the rest. So understand that they're searching and they're looking for cheaper plans also for you to get, for your policy, for them to save money also. The next place you can get insurance normally is from an agent. They sell you policies. Enrollment can be anytime. Normally they like to do it at the beginning of the month because they like for you to pay for the entire month. It's normally paid monthly. There's normally no grace period for insurance agents because normally either it's paid by monthly or it's paid by the day. If you stop paying them, if you don't pay it for the month, they're going to cut you off right then. They're not going to give you any type of grace period for this. So let's say you come in and you didn't know that your insurance had lapsed and you hadn't paid on it, it would stop the day that they realized you hadn't made the payment. You wouldn't have a grace period like you do for an employer. And also what we want to understand with the policies is insurance agents receive commissions off of these policies sold. So they're gonna try to be helpful unless it's your friends, helpful in you picking the correct policy and making sure it's one that's fit for you, but most of the time, honestly, they're not. They're gonna sell it to you and make it sound good in order for you to purchase it. So the next thing is your policies. A couple points are policies are sold by dollar amount mostly. So if your insurance agent, normally your insurance agent or even your employer, if you look over here for an individual policy, this is all you normally see when they're trying to sell you or give you a policy is, well, if the deductible is $500, that's a pretty good policy. Most people are like, okay, so I only have to pay $500 out of pocket, that's good. Or you pay 20% co-insurance, meaning your insurance plan is gonna pay 80% and all you have to owe is 20. You're only gonna pay $1,000 out of pocket and you're gonna pay $100 a month for this policy. The other thing that sells most policies is the $20 copay, normally for PCPs, and the $35 specialist. So this is all you see when you get ready to purchase a policy. They tell you nothing else unless you actually read the policy and get into it. And that's all I say. Most policies are not read before they're purchased. This is the only thing that you see when you get to purchase a policy. And policies are created and priced by most insurance companies. So the insurance agents are going to try to make a commission off of whatever the policy is set and priced for. I want to break down what your policy is really saying to you when you purchase it. So you get an individual policy and it says it's $500. This means you pay $500 for all of your services before your insurance policy benefits will pay anything. So when you go to a doctor, whether you have a copay or not, you're going to pay $500 before. Now, this particular service that you're going for may not be $500 that day, but until you meet $500 for all your services, you're going to pay $500 first. 20% co-insurance. You pay 20% of your bill and your insurance plan will pay 80. But this is not until you pay $500. Until if you don't meet $500 the whole year, your insurance plan is not paying anything for that year until you've paid an out-of-pocket of $500. Not out of pocket. You paid a $500 deductible. The $1,000 out of pocket is after you pay $1,000, your plan will pay 100%. This is meaning if you met your deductible and you start paying your 20%, this goes towards your out of pocket of $1,000. But sometimes some policies will include the $500 as an out of pocket and some of them won't. But that goes back to saying read your policy, because you figure you paid $500 for the year and then now actually your out of pocket is $1,500, not basically your deductible is $1,500 and not $500, because I just stress to read your policy. Sometimes they include it and sometimes they don't.
Or bring it to you and let you decipher it for us.
Sure. Anytime, yes ma'am. The $100 a month goes toward just having the plan. It doesn't go towards your deductible, it doesn't go towards your out of pocket. This is just it's either the insurance company through an employer or it's the agent that's pocketing the $100 a month for finding this policy for you. The $20 copay. After you meet your $500 deductible, now you start paying $20 every time you go to the doctor. This doesn't go towards your deductible. This is just a $20 fee for you to see the doctor. It's actually included in the doctor's fee. So if the allowable or whatever the insurance company says that they're going to pay me $100, they're actually paying me $120 because I'm to collect $20 from you up front for your copay. And the $35 specialty fee is the same way. If you go to a specialist, you have to pay the $35.
Question. Can you explain the urgent care fee too and the difference between? You're going to get to it. Okay.
So on a family plan, it's the same way. On a family plan, you pay $1,500 for all your services before your benefits will pay anything. If this is normally up to 3 people, so that means 3 people have to meet $500 deductibles, like an individual policy, in order to fulfill that deductible for the year. Sometimes if one person max out the family deductible, sometimes they'll count that as the deductible being fulfilled. But there goes again, read your policy, because sometimes there could be 3 people on the policy and one, it meets $5,000 of the deductible and the others don't. They sometimes still want the other people to meet the $500 before. But you have to read the policy because there's those stipulations in there. And the same with the 20%, you have to meet the $1,500 deductible before your insurance will start picking up 80%. So now with the out of pocket being $2,000, now you're up to what, $3,500 that you have to meet out of pocket as a family before your plan will start paying. And sometimes that includes your deductible and sometimes it doesn't. You'll pay $200 a month usually for this type of health plan, but it goes towards nothing. And then your copays for specialists and PCPs are the same there. Those are not included in your deductible. Okay. So another thing here on this slide, Tina, we'll go over it. The first thing you need to do is, I'm stressing this, read your policy in the entirety. If you don't understand it, please bring it, so take it somewhere, or even make your agent. They should be explaining this stuff to you guys. The next thing, you need to figure out what benefits you're going to use the most and then really concentrate and research on those. If you know you have heart problems, or you know you take blood pressure medicine every month, or you have pain management or things of that sort, you need to figure out what benefit is going to best help you in this plan to make sure that those issues are taken care of monthly. Figure out what type of doctors are under which benefit. Because the $20, like I say in these plans I'm talking about, the $20 copay is normally for a PCP. That's a doctor that you called your insurance company and said, this is my main doctor. I'm going to use this doctor for everything. He's going to give me referrals. He's going to treat me for colds, immunizations, and testing. That is all that $20 is going to cover. It's just that doctor. If you go somewhere else, that doctor may be credentialed differently. He may be an actual specialist. Or say when you come here to Healthcare Express, Some of our doctors are PCPs, some of them are credentialed as emergency medicine, and some are family practice. So it just depends on which one you see, which copay is gonna go towards that doctor. Normally, the PCP gives you the referral for a specialist, and that's when the $35 will kick in. Or if you go to the emergency room, they refer you to specialists, and that's when the copay, $35. So read your policy and find out which benefit you're using that's gonna coincide with that copay. Because a lot of people just think, oh, I have $20, when I go anywhere, I pay $20, and it's not at all. Your policy will state each benefit and what copay applies to it. When you come urgent care, just recently, insurance policies have incorporated urgent care benefits because they really don't want you to go to the emergency room. Most plans, most doctors, most insurance companies do not want you going to the emergency room. They'd rather you come urgent care, you get in, you get out, and the cost is low. So now they're implementing urgent care copay. It will be in your benefit. Most of them are $100. I've seen some $50s. I've even seen $35 copays for urgent care. So if you want to come urgent care, make sure you look in your policy and see. Some of the urgent care benefits are still under emergency room. I would suggest if you don't see urgent care in your policy and you see emergency room, I would call my plan and say, what do I do for urgent care? Is it the
What
same?
do you describe as urgent care?
Urgent care is, how do we describe it?
It's
What-
more of a place of service as far as your policy is concerned, but it's like after hours and weekends type thing, but your policy is gonna have a hard time, like, if you all of a sudden realize, I'm out of my blood pressure medicine, my doctor can't get me in until next week, that would be an urgent to you, so you would come on in
Right.
and get your medicine
Right.
and carry you over to the next week.
A true urgent care visit in the beginning was lacerations, oh, I hurt my hand, I fell at the baseball field, oh, I'm at the park, I bumped my head. They don't want you to go to the emergency room for something like that we could get you in, we could get you an x-ray, get you some medication, get you sent back out. Now, with the way urgent care is developing, it's becoming more, we're able to do more things in the urgent care setting that's quicker, that we can get you out. Kind of like a Walmart, like a super, Walmarts were small in the beginning, now they're super sized, they do more, they have more. That's
Or
what
the
urgent care
express line.
Exactly. That's what urgent cares are beginning to turn into. So anything urgent to you, we had a lady who lived in Longview and her policy didn't support urgent cares, but that's where she needed to go that day. She couldn't get in anywhere else. And they actually paid us out of network, but she wrote them a letter, she read her policy, she wrote them a letter and she said, look, that was the only place that was open at 9 o'clock at night and this was urgent to me. And they paid us 100%. Totally. So if you feel like that's where you want to go, if it's urgent to you, it may not be urgent to anybody else, but if you feel like that's where you need to go, I tell you, fight those policies. They will, you're the customer. So call them, let me know if I can help you. I'll write the letter, I'll help you, with the appeal or the denial in order to get it paid. But read those, I'm stressing that because most people do not read those, it's gibberish, honestly. When you look at it, all those words and all those benefits, nobody knows what that stuff is. So even with people with the pharmacy benefits, read those too. I don't do much pharmacy, but I know people have trouble with their medicines and what's $4 and what's $2 and what's free and what tier and what level. Read that policy also. If anybody needs help with that, I'll find somebody to help decipher that part of the policy, but just read those policies. So now that you've seen the doctor and you've picked what doctor you're going to, and you've had all your tests ran or whatever is going on with you, you get an EOB. So the first thing on the EOB, the first thing for the EOB is going to be at the top there. It's going to tell, but it's going to tell you that it's not a bill. Up there at number 1, it's going to tell you it's not a bill. It's going to tell you where you went and what date of service you went there. It's going to give you the customer service numbers to your policy, and it's going to, there's going to be messages or anything that tells you how much deductible you met or how much you haven't, or anything special that's going on in your policy for the month. The next thing is on number 6, it's going to give you the member's name. Your name is going to give you your group number, your identification number, They issue a claim number each time we send a claim through, or anybody sends a claim through, it gets a number. And it usually has an X on the end of it. And then it tells what patient actually went. Number 6 is actually the person, the subscriber on the card. Number 9 or 10 is actually the patient that was seen under that policy for that day. So 11 is are gonna be your bill charges. I'm gonna elaborate just a minute on bill charges, because we get a lot of patients who say, you mean to tell me you charged my insurance $8,000 and I was, or let's say $600 and I was in there for 2 minutes. There's a fee schedule that is, that insurance companies make, and that all companies, no matter what they are, if they're urgent care, a doctor's office, a hospital, there's a fee schedule that is a base standard fee schedule. It's like a, you know how, help me out, how prices are across the line just for like people working, like how minimum wage is set. Let's do it that way. How minimum wage is set, and every year it goes up so much, or it never really goes down, but it'll go up a little bit with how, you know, how the rate is of people getting paid, or how housing is, or just based on taxes or things of that sort. So there's a set fee schedule that we go by, and if we want to go up or down with it based on where we live, or based on just the economy, we can go up or down with it. But there is a base one that's loaded into everybody's system, and we just tell whoever loads it, go up 10%, or go down 15%, or go up 30%. So those are not set by us. We just tell them to go up or down based on the economy and where we live, or wherever. If we were in Canada, Canada doesn't really, they don't actually have a fee schedule. Their government just says, we're gonna pay you this and you accept it, and that's it. So they can't adjust their fee schedule, it's just set. Ours, we can adjust up or down however we wanna do it. So when people say, you know, you charge my insurance this, the insurance companies make this fee schedule. They already know what the charge is going to be. But if we want to accept, can you turn the air on? Is it hot in here? I think I'm sweating or something. But if we want to accept, like if we want to accept Blue Cross Blue Shield, and take those type of patients with that particular policy, we have to sign a contract. And Blue Cross Blue Shield says, okay, for an office visit level 4, we're gonna pay you this. And they list every code that there's possible that we could do, and they say, this is what we're gonna pay. And we look through that, and we compare it to the standard fee schedule, and we say, okay, we'll take it, or no, we won't. Because there's a policy that we have now that they sent us a fee schedule, we didn't agree to take that type of it. It's Green Tree with Domtar. We don't take that insurance here, because their fee schedule they send us, we didn't agree with. It was way too low. It just was not gonna be feasible for us to do. So, we agree, and we say, okay, Blue Cross Blue Shield, you're gonna pay us so-and-so dollars for a level 4 visit, and when our customers come in here, on your actual HICFA claim, the standard fee schedule bill charge with this one is $1,074.36 has to be on the claim. Then the contracted amount, which they sent us a contract saying they're gonna pay X amount of dollars for this particular visit, is on the contract. So we already know as a business, we're getting X amount of dollars for this particular visit. And this is how it is. They billed out $725.36. We already knew we're gonna have to take in a contractual adjustment of $489.76. We knew that we were gonna get $235.60 for the claim, for that particular office visit. We knew that before the claim ever went out. But it has to go out in this type of format. So you guys, as patients, can see what the prices are and what the contractual adjustments that we're taking. This other service that they did, we sent it out at $279. We knew that we were gonna take an adjustment of $112.30, and they paid us $166.70 for that particular service. Then if you go down further with the EOB, it tells you if you had a deductible, let's say you had the $500 deductible we talked about. Actually, this one is $350 for this patient. It tells that they had a $20 copay, and the co-insurance was $16.78. So what it says on 21, what you may owe the provider is $386.78. And the reason for that is because you had to meet your $350 deductible, you had to pay your copay, and then you only paid 20% of whatever was after the $350, which was $16.78. So as a total, you owe that provider $386.78. Now you satisfied your deductible for the year, but you have to still continue paying the $20 copay because now your deductible is satisfied. So the next thing I want to talk about is this amount that you may owe the provider. You know, the providers will say, well, the estimated amount you owe us is, say they only collected $200 this time. Because what we try to do here is these amounts that we know that we're going to get from the provider, we try to give that information to the front desk so we can kind of get the bill exact. So instead of them, you know, they should have already collected the $235.60 from you because we already knew that's what we were going to get from the insurance company. So in a perfect world, at the end of the day, when this EOB comes to you, you would look at the bottom and say, I already paid that $386 because they collected that up front. So I shouldn't owe them anything. You should compare your receipts to what you've already paid the provider the date of service, and you would already know. Or let's say you paid $400 that day because we overestimated it. Then you would know you have a credit coming because you overpaid. All you were supposed to pay was the $386.78.
Does this make sense?
Yeah. Anybody have questions?
What insurances do most of you have?
I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, Louisiana.
United Healthcare.
Okay.
Core Source.
Core Source. Okay. So you're going to be a small commercial. You're one of the larger commercials, and then you're at Texas. Texas processes everything except Arkansas, Louisiana, New Hampshire.
I only have Louisiana because my home office is in Louisiana,
Right.
so it goes through Texas.
Yes, ma'am. It processes through Texas, and then you're the home plan. So I suggest everybody keep up with your EOB so you can see this. I just want.
What about the fact that some companies don't even send out EOBs anymore? You have to go online to get them.
Texas is really going to that right now, and that when I call the automated system, they'll tell you they will no longer, after a certain date, they will no longer be sending zero payment EOBs. So I'm on their website constantly.
Do you have a login to their website? Have you gotten one? They send you an email?
Who knows? I've got
Okay.
so many logins.
Yes, ma'am. I understand. Yeah, everybody is.
You
gonna
can
go
always
electronic.
call member service on the back of your card, and they will be able to walk you through.
I know that Blue Cross doesn't have an urgent care benefit. They classify us as specialists. So anytime you go urgent care, well, with us, I don't know how the other ones are, but we're classified as a specialist with Blue Cross Blue Shield Texas, so that's the benefit you would use for us. With United Healthcare, I've seen a lot of urgent care copays come through on your cards, on the front of them. Have you seen that yet, sir? For United Healthcare?
Yes.
Have you seen that one? Okay. Are you having any trouble with yours?
No.
Okay. And then Core Source, it depends on the place of service we put on Core Source. If we put an 11, which is like a PCP, they pay it differently. If we put a 20, we try to do it across the board. We normally put 20 on there, and then I think Core Source probably does a specialist also. They pay 80% of the bill charge. They don't necessarily have a contract. They just pay 80% of whatever we bill. So have you had any trouble with yours? Okay. Alright. Does anybody have any other questions about the EOB? Did anybody bring an EOB?
I got one out in my car. That's what I was looking for a minute ago. Would you like me to go get one?
If you'd like to go over it, that'd be great.
Yeah. Come on, go get it. I figured out the big one, it was the little ones I couldn't get any tips.
Okay.
But big-
Okay.
Well, I just stuck with the big one.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think once you get your EOB, these are the questions that you may look at. If it tells you the amount that you may owe the provider, you may have already paid that at the time of service. So you need to be seeing how much they say you owe versus how much you already paid at the time of
I have
service.
a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the 6712, you might want to back up.
Yes, ma'am.
How do they?
I know your question. How did they
Yeah.
calculate that? Because the total covered expense was $453, and you had to take the deductible out of it. So what was left was the $1678. And that, what did they say? Minus the 30, minus the 2083 times the co-insurance, which is $1678. They can only charge you 20% of your co-insurance, what was after the $350.
I think it's because, isn't there a lab or an x-ray or something on that as well?
Service to
This is
$70.
service one, service two, so.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
See, this right here would be like an office visit, your medical office visit, and that's, your $20 copay is gonna go towards your office visit only.
Mhm.
And then for these service one, whatever, that,
Whatever
it's just an
they have to
example,
be,
yeah. X-rays or labs is gonna be subject to your $350 deductible, which you satisfied with those two services, but you satisfied plus some. So that's when you pay 20%.
Of what's over, cause
Eight.
see, all of
Yeah.
your covered services equal $453, but you only had a $350 deductible. And so whatever was left out of that, what is it saying, was left $83.90, you only pay 20% of the $83.90, and that was $1678.
So with one visit,
So
you
all
bet
of
your-
this,
Yes,
minus, this minus,
this
this
is
minus
total.
this
Yes.
is that.
Yeah.
Remember they said this is not a bill?
Yes, sir.
You said that's right there.
Okay, so the first thing I see on yours is you have $1,000 deductible,
Correct.
okay?